Hello and welcome to another part of the MAME Multisystem May, where once again I'm looking at some driving games because there seem to be a lot of driving games to look at. Now this time I'm actually starting with one of the computers, which is the X68000, because there's been yet another bug fix just gone in a few hours ago for the X68000 game Super Hang-On, which I allowed to boot up while the stream is starting up there. You've got the nice little countdown and everything else. So, this is Super Hang-On the X68000. It's a slightly scaled down version compared to the arcade, smaller sprites and everything else, but compared to a lot of the X68000 ports we looked at, it's pretty good. So I'm going to switch my view over and I'm going to full screen it and we'll get to play it. Okay, who's in the chat first of all? Hey Cow, hey Super Volteca, hey Thomas. And good to see you all, so I hope you're all doing well. So yeah, a second day in a row with another stream. How's the Akuma? I don't know. I don't think there's any progress towards fixing it, Cow. It's a very strange one. I kind of think it must happen in some circumstances on original hardware, because it seems to be very fussy about the timing. So my gut feeling is it's maybe something that would happen like 1 in 100 times on hardware, but happens 99 in 100 times in MAME, because of just slight timing differences, because it doesn't make sense that it'd just be on one revision otherwise. So I think they probably noticed and fixed it. But okay, and thank you for following HP Alvarez. If you're watching, feel free to say hello. But now I'm gonna press start. When it says press start button in this game, it seems to mean press both mouse buttons, which is kind of odd, but that's how it works. And then the second mouse button selects. So we'll go with beginner. Now, one of the things that's been fixed is the background colour on these screens. Previously, this rendered with a completely black background, so it looked odd. You couldn't see the choices properly, and also the sky in game was incorrect. And again, that is now correct. Now you don't get immediate control here; you get control about now. So I'm playing this on mouse. But you see, this is fast and smooth. It's not quite 60 frames a second. I think it's about 30. Just feel like there's some frames dropped compared to the arcade. But it plays actually pretty well. And as we've seen from a lot of the 68K racing games, they've not been the best ports. Whereas this one, excuse my driving, I did better earlier again. This one's actually pretty good. Must have been a different set of developers working on this port, because this one I actually feel like you play in the arcade, and you know, I'd say this is every bit as good as some of the other ports. It's not got quite all the extra content of, say, the Mega Drive version, but if you want an arcade port of Super Hang-On and don't mind the sprites being slightly smaller, you could do far worse than the X68000 version here. Oh, I just remembered. I forgot to turn the sound up on this, didn't I? Hold on. Let me scroll. Sorry, I forgot to turn the actual game sound up. I turned it down a minute ago. So, there we go. Let's have some actual sound in the game. That's better, isn't it? Now you get to hear the lovely Sega music and see me time out. So, how is everybody today? All doing well, I hope? So yes, that was a practice run. Obviously. But now you get to hear it properly. And it sounds good as well. It's got the proper arcade music. There we go. Manage your speed. Now, I think I've looked at a lot of the more interesting games already on the first two parts of these racing streams. But that's not to say there aren't more interesting games coming up. I mean, there's another X68000 title that I didn't feature when it initially got a bug fix that I will probably be jumping to after this one. And then we'll have actually looked, I think, all the racing games in the X68000. Or all the, inter-screen ones, at least. Now, there is occasionally a bad raster line between the sky and the ground. But that might happen on original hardware, I don't know. It's just like one line sometimes goes the wrong colour. But programming those things is very tricky to get right at all times, so that could just be how the game is. Because the raster effects were greatly improved for overtake and much more trusted now than they were before. You got your nice sky colour effect there. I'll probably play a few more 3D races, yes, Super Volteca. I might even look at the Hyper Neo Geo ones. They've not been improved for a few months now, but I think they're worth checking out. And there's some Namco ones I can potentially look at. Yeah, you get a really good sense of speed on this one. Just like you do on the original arcade, really. No, I didn't make it to the checkpoint. I think that's a checkpoint right there, isn't it, that I missed? Would you ever use a channel for some MAME guides, Runadum? What do you mean? I try to include helpful information with some of these streams, like when I was looking at Group X on the X68000, pointing out that you need to map the help key to something. Was there something more specific you were thinking about? Let's pick the Junior course, not Hang On Junior, just Junior. Now, since the X68K doesn't do natural sprite scaling, you can see it's a little rough in places compared to the arcade, but it's still a good effect. Evening Manic Panic, thank you for joining. Also, hope you're doing well, and also Runadum, I hope you're doing well too. Thank you for joining, thank you for being here. Checkpoint. Ooh, too fast. It's always tempting to go too fast in this. Yeah, this is probably my favourite of the racing games on the X68K. And so it's good to have this one fixed in MAME 2. Not to say I'm any better at it, but I'm going to look at probably Terra Drive, the other X68K game, straight after this one. In fact, so while we're on an X68K theme, makes sense. And Terra Drive wasn't previously playable at all. In the previous MAME release. Did even worse on that course. Yeah, this is a great game, isn't it? Manic Panic. And so this is actually a really good port, the X68K port of it. And the X68K really isn't known for having good racing ports, so this one stands out. Let's go with the senior stage and the winning run track. But yeah, I mean, the sky's the proper colour now, and if you've tried to play this in an earlier version of MAME, you'll notice the sky was all black as well, which meant you couldn't see the status display properly. Obviously, the arcade versions work properly for a long time, but sometimes it's nice to have a look at these ports, isn't it, and study them a little bit. And realise they're quite challenging ports. This one doesn't simplify the game and make it any easier. It throws you in the deep end. You can't even change the difficulty setting from what I can tell. It's just this is how hard it is, and you will learn it. Oh dear. You won't do that. I think one of the issues, Runadum, is the main thing people ask about is where to get the ROMs, and it's something I can't really tell people on this channel because YouTube and Google will clamp down on it, and it's a bit problematic. So, yeah. So I can't really show where the things are being downloaded from and say use this one, not this one, because it puts me on slightly dodgy legal ground with YouTube. So I didn't do very well on that course. Unsurprising, that's a harder course. So there's one course left to have a look at on this, and Not been playing it for very long though, so let's have a look at Expert in Europe and Hard Road, appropriately named track. I mean, I'll have to think about it. It's just I don't really know how to work it into things when I'm done. And hey, the Gaming Hell YouTube thing, welcome. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, it's good to see what the home ports were like back in the time. And this is a home port that, outside of Japan, not many people are going to have seen. Because, obviously, the X68000 didn't really make it out of Japan. And it was expensive enough even in Japan. So a lot of people have seen these games for the first time, these ports under emulation. And so MAME playing its part in that is kind of important. It's a good job there are no cows roadside here, otherwise there would be lots of ouches. And yes, I'm glad you've managed to catch this one live. You've made it a few times before. I remember seeing your name down there in the chat, which is yes, you're nice and early this time. I always feel a little bit bad when people end up arriving late and I'm just about to close the stream down, as frequently happens. Anyway, I'd give this one another credit. Not credit. Why am I trying to press fire to insert a coin? It's the X68000 version. It must be convincing enough that you know, I'm trying to insert coins. Let's just play on beginner again then. Yeah, I mean, Jaleco provided, you know, the Dallas ROM, the protection ROM for the original World Rallye, and information on how the video encryption worked, just so that they could, you know, put the thing on their own site, which, you know, is really helped us because it gave us a head start emulating the Dallas before Peter and Morton extracted all the internal ROMs from the other ones. And also, you know, the video RAM encryption was important for a few other games. Oh, who's that? Oh, hey, thank you, Greg Davis, for the 20 Canadian dollars. It's always appreciated. I hope you are enjoying the stream, and is this your first time here? Oh, you say, sorry, the message says you can't watch today, but thank you for everything you do for the community. I mean, you're welcome. It's you know, I enjoy doing it, and it's always rewarding to see the results and know that people are enjoying these streams. So, desert cow. So yeah, I hope you manage to drop in another time then, or you know, watch them on catch up, because that's always good too. But say much appreciated. I should set up try and set up some type of text to speech thing, shouldn't I? So it reads out the messages, so I don't miss the, well, you know, the donation on Super Chat ones, if that can be done. Right. I could crash into some Birdland signs, but that's not clever either, is it? That's not the road. I'm not the best player of Hang On, or any game. I'll probably look at Hang On Junior later as well, because that's always a fun one. Off the track and into a tree. It's the Canadian Taskmaster. There's some speech aid machines in MAME, Thomas. The Handy Voice thing was emulated at some point a few months ago, which uses the Votax for its speech. Although you really have to know how the words are formed and everything else, and it's quite cumbersome to use. I suppose you could emulate, you know, a home system with one of these speech units attached, which I've done before, and use the software on those. But yeah, super hang on for the X68000. As I say, it's been improved. The improvement will make it into the next main release because it made it before the freeze. So the next main release will be on Wednesday, all going well. And so hang on, super hang on the X68000 should look like this in it and be very playable at this point. So, right. Let's have a look at the other X68000 game I mentioned, and that is Terra Drive. which I don't remember the controls for, so you might have to bear with me while I work them out. Good evening, Custado. Welcome to the chat. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the stream, even. I hope you're doing well. But welcome to the chat also. Yes, there will be more final lap shortly. Configuration. I guess Trace is some kind of recording feature, I don't know. Rank normal. So I think this is a much lower budget game. World Turtle Day. Does this mean I have to like load logo on the CPC and try and remember how to program the turtle? So yeah, this is quite a simple but smooth driving game. But I'm not even sure it's got gears. But it's drive along a fairly flat road, dodge things, quite a big car. It's not even that flat road, look, it's got a hill. It's got a little hill. But previously, in the last MAME release, this didn't really run at all. It only moved forward like at all, the game, a frame at a time if you randomly mashed keys, otherwise it just stayed on a static screen. That was an issue with the H-blank interrupts, I believe. Which again, like as was the case with Super Hang-On, Carl had a look at it and fixed it. So he's been doing a lot of really good support work actually for these streams in terms of fixing these X68K games so that I can show them. TMNT Racing? There's a TMNT Racing game? What was that on, Bob? Are you saying this is TMNT Racing? They do kind of have shell-like visuals with those windows, don't they? Very curved. Alright, sorry. I'll try and read the chat properly next time. And hey Robbie, I'll read your message in a second. Just what happened to the person who dumped Aka? Oh, I don't know. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure I believe that story, Robbie. I think that story's kind of made up. That's my gut feeling on it. It seemed a bit elaborate. The car seems to be drifting to the left there. It's turning into a desert bus. Yes, the X68... I mean, I'm sure these improvements have helped other games too. I've just not tested them, but the X68K's got a huge library. I did try running Group X on the 68030 driver, but it doesn't boot. The driver is marked as not working. It does boot on the faster 68K version, the one that's about 16 MHz, and was improved a little bit. And then I overclocked the CPU at 40, and it didn't seem to improve much more, so I guess it's still frame limited to about 15 frames a second. But it didn't drop as much in this faster drivers. Slow down a bit. Take this corner easy. So yeah, this is... I don't know if this is like more of a homebrew thing or a commercial release. It's from back in the day. But, the X68K did have a lot of, you know, budget software. Doujin, I think it's called, is it? Yeah, I've not really played the Castlevania on the X68K, Mitchell. It's probably one I should play at some point. So yeah, this isn't the most challenging of racing games compared to some of the others either. It's fairly slow paced, but it is smooth. Oop. Move out my way. No. No, Thomas. I'd like to, you know, interact with the audience a little bit, and you know, crash too many times and you get towed all the way past Tuscan. There. Well, my crashes are adding up. Time is running out. Suddenly it got a lot harder after I said it wasn't too challenging. Or maybe my concentration levels dropped. Time up. Oh well, I might give this one another run because it's only a quick game. Let's just see. Let's scroll up the chat a little bit. So, hey Mitchell, of course, hey R09, and hey Robbie. I think that's the new arrival. So, yeah, all Castlevania games are hard as hell, aren't they, Cal? That's what I generally found with them. Best lap will be recorded to disc. That's nice to know. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bigger release. I mean, it seems to be a smaller developer, and the X68000 does have a lot of those. I mean, you've got all like the caravan shooters, the very, the ones that are only a single level time trial ones, and you've got a lot of new developments. So I don't really know. I mean, I guess this wasn't going to be a big box, expensive game, but that is a guess. First place final. I'll put final up on next cow. Again. Because I was quite surprised by what I found with it when actually fixing the bug properly. Although it does kind of conflict with information I was provided with. However, I don't know if the final fix of final lap's actually going to be in the next release either, because I kind of missed the freeze period by a few hours. But we'll have a look at it shortly. I will torture myself with that game once more. Terra Drive, the last game in the Moon/Terra Cresta series. I mean, possibly. Maybe they realised all that shooting and blasting things and diving down into caves just wasn't needed when you could just enjoy themselves and release their frustration and anger by racing some cars on, plain old Earth. Occasionally crash. Again, this shows the X68000 with good programming can actually do a convincing racing engine. It's just a shame, things like Chase HQ and Full Throttle didn't really have good engines on the X68000. This and Hang On, yeah, they're nice smooth games. Yeah, I think so. I've seen people say that before. I'd say Super Hang-On was, and then I did like that Group X thing, although that's more of a simulator than a racing game. Full Throttle and Chase HQ. I think Chase HQ is the worst. Full Throttle runs really badly, but the game is almost intact. Chase HQ just loses too much of the game. But yeah, there aren't many driving games on the X68000. Oh, there's Overtake as well, of course. That's the original one. I don't really know where I rank that. I'd probably put it after Super Hang-On, after this, before the others. I mean, Overtake's got good presentation values, loads of extras on the disc. I didn't even get around to looking at the intro it's got, which kind of reminds me of ZX with the blueprints and everything. I guess there was some good lap times already recorded in this game that I'm not going to match. So that's Terra Drive for the X68000. The X68000. Oh, Mr. Argner. I've not played the X68000 port of Viewpoint. It's an unpleasant surprise. Do I want to play it? I might play it on a shoot 'em up stream, along with maybe the Mega Drive version, and Zaxxon's Mother Base 2000, which is kind of similar, but yeah. Yeah, it saves the lap time. I think it's probably got other people's lap times saved on the disc. That's probably why I didn't get to do much. So, once again, here is Namco's final lap. And Z is my shifter. Okay. So, so yeah, there were various graphics missing. You see the marker on the map, and the sparks coming from the back of your car there. They were actually all still missing in the previous emulation, even with the bug fix. And it turns out the final lap video board actually only supports half as many sprites as the later one, and the attribute bit for the 16 by 16 or 32 by 32 tiles is moved compared to the later boards. So when I was forcing 32 by 32 tiles, that just fixed the title screen, but I didn't realise it only needed that because the sprite loading was wrong. It was leaving a gap in memory before the sprites, so the sprite addressing seemed correct. But then there were lots of sprites, such as the road mark up there, and those sparks not being drawn at all. So I'm sure you can appreciate my skill at driving around this course. Evening, Mo. Welcome to Final Lap stream once more. Looking at another bug fix. Now, I've just done the X68000 bug fixes, which were the focus of this one. But I figure, since another bug fix did go in for this, which might not make the release, as I said, I should at least cover it. Because I was just surprised by how many graphics were missing that I hadn't realised were missing. Even some of the frames on the car, when it rotates and spins out, are done with sprites that weren't being drawn at all, because the area they were loaded... Well, they weren't... The ROMs weren't loaded into the lower area, so there were just no sprites to draw. It was drawing blank sprites. Yes, deja vu. But this is a new stream. This is the actual stream for today, not the stream for yesterday. I'm still not going to finish it. I'm still going to always come first, though. Now, as I was reminded, also I didn't cover Final Lap 3 last time, or Final Lap R, but Final Lap R is different hardware. I've not improved anything on that yet. But yeah, I just wanted to show the extra bug fix for the original Final Lap, which is on slightly different hardware to the rest of them. Interestingly, we do have some conflicting information though, because one thing that threw me off is a guru said that 4 tracks is exactly the same board as Final Lap 1, but it really can't be, because 4 tracks uses more sprites, and the Final Lap 1 sprite board does not support that many sprites. It's not got the ROM capacity. So, I'm not really sure. I think there's some confusion there. Unfortunately, it cost me a bit of time figuring it out, but never mind. It's better understood now, at least. I have a feeling maybe it's Final Lap 2 that's the same board as 4 tracks or something. So, yes, if you missed the previous stream, then the sound on the engines is another one of the fixes that happened previously. Though I showed that was the focus of the previous stream bug fix, whereas this one is more about the extra visual fixes that just went in. I'm not going to make it around this lap, am I? Not crashing like that, not. Yeah, I'd actually quite like to see the linking feature emulated. Maybe not so much for this game, but because there's quite a few other Namco games that would benefit from it. I think Galaxian 3 needs the link chips emulator. I think they're the same ones, and that needs it to run it all. So this is going to be the final lap on Final Lap before I move on, because I don't think there's much more to see with this one. You can see it's been improved. You can see I'm still terrible at it. You can see there's still a few improvements to go, because you're still going to get those oversized flickering sprites at times, which are far worse than the sequels. But any progress is good progress, I would think. Also, Final Lap 2 Japanese version still needs the sprite ROMs dumped. I'm really surprised because these are meant to be really popular games in Japan, but for some reason Final Lap 2 Japanese sprite ROMs still aren't dumped. So all the text in the track mode is corrupt on that one, and that's not an emulation error, that is just the ROMs are wrong. They are marked as wrong, but nobody's done anything about it. Think twice if everything is okay. This is lots of blinking. Now I'm getting strobe effects on the screen. Maybe blinking lots of times was a bad idea, and now you're going to send for help. There'll be an ambulance on its way. Maybe I missed blink 20 times if you've been captured by terrorists. And they're forcing you to play Final Lap against your will. Oh well. Anyway, make it a theme month. Disappointing December. Yeah, a stream dedicated to disappointing games. And hey, Aussie guy, thank you for joining. I hope you're doing well. So I think that's enough Final Lap. We have seen enough Final Lap. I think Guru is going to have to double check his research, because there's no way that can run on exactly the same board as 4 tracks with no modifications at all, from what I can say. And the schematics agree with the new code in MAME, because they say that the 16 by 16 32-bit 32-bit is where Final Lap wants it to be. So yeah, right. Where do we go next? I know. Let's go with one that I'm probably going to have to adjust the display for a little bit. I played this on another stream. But, this is TX1, a Tatsumi game. A 3-screen one, like the full version of Buggy Boy. It's about to start. Now, as you can imagine, I'm going to be bad at this. It's one that requires lots of precision, weaving in and out of cars and managing your speed and not going too fast. But it's a very impressive 3-screen racer. And it's one of those that shows Tatsumi could have really gone on to do great things, but then ultimately, after this, they made a lot of games that are just more or less cheap rip-offs of other things, like Roundup 5, which is Chase HQ, and yeah. They did do a few flight things like Lock On and Apache 3, but again, they feel almost like weak versions of Afterburner. But this has got splitting paths, 3 screens, smooth scaling. It's really well done. Now, unlike Buggy Boy, I don't think there is a single screen version of this one. Look, you've got your tilt on the road there, on the background. Nice little effect for the time it was released. Buggy Boy does the same. If you hit a car, you explode. Very pole position like. Then again, maybe you could say this is a bit of a rip-off of Pole Position. But the fact it's 3 screens and it's doing its own thing with the split branching paths makes it feel distinct enough for me to not feel like I'm just playing Pole Position rip-off. No. Oh well. Let's give this one another try, because, yeah, I like this one. Sound is a little quiet, but... Yes, Costado, this is a beautiful game. I love the art. It's simple, but it's clear. It's kind of got an 8-bit look to it, but it shows what's going on perfectly. Very similar visual design in some senses to Buggy Boy. You've got your black outlines on the sprites. The tunnel's done really well too. sound changes in the tunnel. Again, nice effect. Very smooth scaling on everything as well. In fact, I think to a point this has put some of the Sega stuff to shame. A lot of the Sega games don't even scale this smoothly. Corners seem a bit abrupt at times, but you get used to it. The way they kind of flip back. Lots of cars too. Look how many cars there are here. How much traffic there is. And it maintains a great pace the whole time. No slowdowns. Oh, that was my fault. That was my fault too. Yeah, I think you could say the same for any of these triple screen games. I mean, look at the Naomi triple screen ones, or the you know, the multi-cabs where you a final lap setup with 8 players with, you know, that must have drawn a lot of power too. Okay, didn't do too badly. Let's give it another go, because I do enjoy this one. This is definitely one of my favourites. The car drawing on the title screen. Yeah, the title screen looks like it's trying to throw far too much information at you. I mean, Boogie Boy's the same. You know, a whole list of licensees and everything else. Like, where's a nice, attractive title screen? That's a bad start. I'll probably play the proper version of Boogie Boy, but I'm not very good at it. Oh. Yeah, triple screen CRTs. I mean, most of these games were CRTs back in the day. Final Laps are CRTs. I think most Naomi were CRTs, weren't they? So only more recently we've got all the flat screens. Yeah, I've got triple screen set up for streaming here. Well, I don't really play games triple screen. Although also the screens are all slightly different sizes and offsets, so it wouldn't make sense to try and play this on 3 screens here. There, dear. That was quite a poor one this time. Yeah, I mean, I like the way you can spin the car for the naming entry. Look, ooh. Might not look great, but you can spin it around. It's a nice little setup then. That's a very wide setup, in fact, Mr. Yeah, there were some with projection screens, weren't there? Quite often the most expensive cabinets. Gun games, I think, use them quite often. Yeah, it would have been a very expensive game. That's probably why with a lot of these ones, the big cabinets like that, they're very rare these days. And probably why we don't have dumps of a lot of the ROMs. So let's go back horizontal. Let's go with a plug and play game. This is one that was emulated last year. This is Ford Racing from Excaliber. So what I'm going to do, single race, choose a car. Oh, no, I don't want. Okay, you. 3 laps on this. The controls. Yeah, this is not doing well. So yeah, this is a plug and play game. Obviously, they can't even spell tyres. That's the strangest spelling of tyres I've ever seen. In fact, but, yeah, you know, this is just one of those buy it and plug it into your TV games. It's not too convincing, but There was also a Carl Edwards game on basically the same hardware, but the Carl Edwards one is just like 2 globs, so Sean wasn't able to dump it yet. But I imagine it's got a very similar game engine to this. For a Sun Plus game, it's actually a fairly convincing effect, but it's just not the most interesting of games. Also, when I uploaded the video this last time on YouTube, it got muted because it seemed to think this music came from somewhere. So, who knows? This section of the stream might end up being muted. Or it might just not care if I'm talking over it. Who knows? Let's overtake this car. All those cars look tiny compared to this car as well. That's a very odd perspective. But it's a nice snowy ground. But then it changes. See, I'm actually really wide. Yeah, I was quite impressed by this. Not necessarily as a game, but as a technical achievement for the Sun Plus hardware. And hey, Negative One, thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. I don't think anybody's going to go out their way to go and play this, but I'm glad it's emulated. And it's one of the few that's actually got an analog steering wheel as well. It's not fully digital, which is surprising. My fuel's running out, however. Oh, that's not good. I can't remember how you refuel in this. Or if that's just more energy than fuel. Also, my tyres are in bad shape. Hey there, Edgar, thank you for joining. And thank you once again for adding the timestamps to the previous video. It made looking up a few things easier last night. I was looking up my own Group X footage. So yeah, I think now I've got no fuel, I'm probably stuck going slow. Unfortunately, I don't remember how you get more fuel. Yes, my tyres, my TIAs. Yeah, I think I've messed this up now because I've got no fuel. It's quite an impressive car that runs without any fuel and without any TIAs. Let's just reset it because there are other cars, you see. They all look about the same when you're inside them. I don't know why you can choose your number because you don't see the outside of your car. Or the colour because you don't see the outside of your car. You're 73. You're 51. You're 39. Let's be the Canadian. I can't be bothered to change your name. Let's not do 10 laps. Okay, how do I change the course, or do I not change the course? Okay, well, this isn't a snowy course. I think the course depends on the character, maybe. See, now it's a road. Right, I think the R in Final Lap R just stands for rubbish cow. I'm not saying I don't like the Final Lap games, but you know, I think maybe Namco finally realised and just put R there for rubbish. Atari 2600 drag racing. I might try and set a world record on that, the Ogre. I don't know. You know, I reckon I could. I might do it on another stream though, because I've not really prepared it. Got to get in the zone. Got to know my drag racing. Or, you know, find cheats so that I can beat the world record. Anyway, yeah, this game, say, it's got a nice little sprite scaling effect going on. We've got a decent road effect going on. It's not stuff the Sunplus hardware is really designed for. So, I'd say there was a fair bit of effort put into it, but obviously, it's not going to win any prizes, is it? And your car feels 10 times wider than anything else. I've recorded to a Betamax Custado. Anyway, let's race around the track a little bit. Anyway, I think that's enough of Ford racing. You get the idea. It's a plug-and-play racing game that was added to MAME last year, so it's one of the recent additions that people might not have seen, so I thought it was worth having a little look at. Now, I'm going to stick with a home game, one that Kale recommended, actually, if I can find it. Here we go. Right, this is like a bit of a road fighter clone. This is for the PC-98, which apparently doesn't work, but the game works. Team Bloody Ninja. It's fine today. Look there, a chopper fly about. Look there, a tank run about. I'm wretched carrier, but I'm glad today because it's fine today. TransbOrder. Because that makes perfect sense. This is another game by Compile. That is a difficulty level setting. That is your only option. Your controls appear to be left, right, and accelerate. And you can bash things. Just don't get bashed in the wrong position. You can jump. So yeah, compared to Runner's High, this is a little more plain. There we go. That was a little bit like drag racing-ish. I was racing in a straight line at full speed. Or straightish line. No, you can't go that way. I forgot, it doesn't scroll if you move that way. That's just death. Jumps there. Jumps there. You do not talk about this performance. Yeah, I kind of have to learn the track. Otherwise, you don't stand a chance. Oops. This is a little more plain, yes. A little more bomber in that case. Should have played on the bomber stream. So yeah, I did better than this in practice, so we'll try again. That score table makes no sense. My score of 0 is higher than the score of 999,999. Okay, whatever. That might be slightly corrupt. It's probably a bad file on the disk or something. There's no guns in this. It's literally it's kind of a puzzle game. You have to learn the levels and learn where the jumps are. And there's a number of different stages which are got quite different designs to learn. So it's sort of half road fighter, half puzzle. You know, learn the patterns of the car so that you don't do that. Don't get caught by the bombers because you know they will appear over you at times. I am TransbOrder. Whatever a TransbOrder is. I guess it's crossing the border? I'm not sure. race across the border. I could have just gone the short way, come to that down the side. No, why not? Why not do this? This looks a lot easier. Oh, that's probably why. But still. Yeah, it's about knowing when to accelerate to and when to slow down. When not to do that. It just warn you where things are coming up on the track. I just decided to ignore the warning and crash straight into them. I'm out of time again. That's why you don't use that. I'm sure if I'd slowed down, it would have been fine. Could have been a pun on TransbOrder too, yes. Yeah, the enemy car sprites can overlap. You can't. That happens in so many driving games. It's one of the things I don't like about Radmobile and Rad Races. The enemies can drive through each other, but you can't. So they'll drive through a car, and then you'll drive straight into the car they just drove through. It is a little frustrating. Now, I don't think this has even got a high or low gear. This is just literally left, right, accelerate. So it's quite a basic game in terms of controls. But again, it's Compile, and you know, Compile have got a reputation for producing good games. So it's not like some unknown team made this. This is from some reputable developers. So, no, I'm assuming this doesn't really need the 486 PC88 driver, PC98 driver even. But I'm just using that one because it's the same one I used for the previous game. Yeah, it's got a bit of a bump and jump feel, but not quite. It's got jumps, I guess. Why am I doing that again? Why am I trying to take a route I know I can't take? I didn't get the turn time. I'm just going to go this way anyway, though. And know that towards the end I've got to slow down, you see. If I slow down here, I can make it there. That's the safe route. That's the stupid thing to do. Okay, I did get to stage 3 last time, but there is a long play of this on YouTube, not from me, but if you did want to see it being played by somebody who's not just going to crash into everything. Yeah, out of time. Right. I'll give this one more go, and then we'll move on to something else, because at the moment you're just seeing the same thing repeated over and over again, because I'm getting nowhere. Doesn't really look like a 1993 game, does it? But never mind. Feels like something that would come as a bonus with something else, actually. I don't know if it was, but I know nothing of the retail history of this game. I just know Kale recommended I play it if I wanted to play something that was in the PC98 driver. And I thought, yes, I will take on board the suggestion and have a look at it. They do that little dance and then they don't do it. Yeah, I don't know much about the actual hardware. So, low budget experiments disk station. Ah, that makes sense, RO9. Because I'd say I don't think anybody would want to pay full price for that. I'm doing the same thing again, every time. I must just like to turn right at junctions. Uh-oh. Missed one. So I think if you get those, it's much quicker, but if you don't, then you end up in trouble. Oh dear. Right. So it's the front of the cars that the collision box on as well. So if you're hitting the front, you die. If they're hitting the front, they die. So yeah, I'm not going to get anywhere in that. I had a better run than any of those, but There you go. It's probably one I'll play again at some point, but I think for this stream, you get the idea. Oh, the time is on the... Okay. I see the size. I understand the score table now. Yeah, I think it's a concentration thing. The first time you're concentrating, then you try, and you sort of taking it for granted. And hey, the fellow Jasper, thank you for joining. I hope you're doing well. And hey, Aaron, thank you for joining, and I hope you're doing well too. Yeah, and Kwon, the Klingon name. Hello and welcome to the stream. I'm not very good at saying it. I can't quite remember it. Hey, Delta Race Studios. Also, thank you for joining. And yeah, that was a Japanese racing game for a Japanese computer, the PC-98, or a Japanese series of computers rather, because the PC-98 covers everything from really low spec, sort of 186 based things up to 486 based things. So calling it a platform is a bit of a push. So let's go back to arcades. Shall we go with... Yeah, let's go with that one. I'm going to do really badly at this one, because I always do really bad at this one. Let's go gear shift there. Brake is space. Oh, I don't need the horn, do I? So this is Jaleco's A Big Run, which is a little bit flickery still. I don't know if it's entirely emulated properly, because this Jaleco multi-68K board... You can tell it's not quite right yet because things like Wild Pilot's just a mess. But yeah, this has 4 68K processors, which is a little excessive for the end result, I have to say. Now this is the same type of hardware that runs Cisco Heat, so the visuals in some way remind me of Cisco Heat. And hey Sophia, thank you for following, subscribing. Hope you're doing well. If you're in the chat, feel free to drop by and say hello. So this was emulated really badly in MAME for a long time in terms of the priorities. In places like this, the size of the road would appear over the road, which meant it was really even more difficult to know where the road was in control. So now I've not got the excuse of, you know, not knowing where the road is. I've just got the excuse of not being very good at driving. It does let you continue to the goal sometimes, but yeah. They were very slow at mining bitcoins, Bob. So let's give this another try. This also had a port on the SNES, I believe, of all things. So you've gone from like, you know, tons of 68Ks to a fairly weak processor. That's a strange horn. More like a siren. These very sharp turns remind me of Cisco Heat. They're not as sharp as Cisco Heat's, but still, you suddenly got turns you have to make quickly. And I'm guessing, is rank first because it's meant to be linked up? Is this another final lap all over again? Because I don't feel like I'm in first place somehow. Don't break down in front of me, that's just not fair. No, not time. Is there a dip switch? Region? That might help. That would be cheating too much. So let's go start run. Now it's apparently on easy now, so we'll see if it's any easier. I'm hoping there's a bit less traffic on easy mode. We'll see. Yeah, I'm always reminded of Hot Chase, the Konami game with these Jaleco ones as well. It feels kind of similar to that. I don't know, just racing games with handling that doesn't quite work how you expect to do. I think that's a set play, that car crashing there, because it happens every time in the same place. Close. Close. I'll give it another try. I don't know, with better programming the SNES version could probably be fine, but I've not played the SNES version. It might be one I have to look at some point. Jaleco's programming in general wasn't the best. You know, they've got all these 68Ks. This has got more processing power than, say, Sega's Power Drift. And you can't really tell. But, you know, I think you've got a dedicated 68K for the linking hardware. So that's one 68K out of the way. You've got a dedicated 68K for the sound, so that's another 68K out of the way. But you've still got more than enough 68Ks, but it's like the Mega System 1 hardware is dual 68K and never feels like it. We're doing the same things again and again. Same mistakes over and over again. Time deceleration, yes. It was a bit sudden that time. Let's see if I can complete the first stage. I'm sure I should be able to complete the first stage. Just running over the crowd there. I thought they deserved it. It might be a case where I need to adjust the calibration settings a bit because the turns are a bit tricky. It's the opposite of final lap. It's not very sensitive at all. So, you know, I think this is the worst run yet. I mean, I've already crashing where I usually crash, but I'm already out of time. So, yes. So, I'm doing really well at this race. I can't complete the first stage. Did I make... look how close I am to the finish line then. I'm not going to make this, am I, at any point. This is uneasy. Last try. If I don't make it this time, we'll move on. Spoiler, I don't think we're going to make it this time. Unless the horn is important. Oh, we've not made it this time because I crashed. And this seems to be a crash once and you've not made it game. Oh dear. No. Not a chance. So, yes, this seems to be a bit difficult. I don't like games where if you crash once, you're not going to make it, and this seems to be one of those games where, unless the difficulty settings, the switches are all wrong, that's the easy setting. Yeah, it's probably a popular thing at the time, Bob. That would make sense. Yes, it's unimpressive for the hardware it is. Let's go another arcade. Let's go for an odd choice by Sega. This is Hang On Junior, which is on System E hardware, which is a Master System based board. It's got nice little music, but this is like the severely cut down low budget version of Hang On. It is a bit more impressive than the Master System version itself because it's got multiple layers, and I think it's an entirely different piece of code actually. It doesn't quite feel like the Master System Hang On to me. So it's possible this was developed from scratch. I'm not sure though. But yeah. It's not actually a bad game. I just don't really know why it exists. Hey Red Hot Mackay, thank you for joining. Yeah, it's a good game. It's just a very strange thing to actually acknowledge exists. No gears on this, so again, even the controls are simplified in terms of how you play it. It moves at a nice rate. So it doesn't look bad. It's still better than that Neo Geo racing game. I think a lot of people will overlook it because it is just a cut down version of a bigger game, but it stands out in its own way. So I guess it must have been for arcades that wanted a cheaper option. Come on. Okay, with a second left I managed to complete the first stage. Now I'm sure I could set the difficulty to easy on this too and get a bit of extra time, which I must have done in the past, because I seem to remember actually finishing this game once, and you know how good I am at games. But that was probably with all the dip switches set to easy. Nice parallax that the Master System doesn't have, because as I say, this has got twice as many VDPs. This has got 2 of the Master System VDPs, so you've got twice as many layers. But there you go. Almost. Let's see what the difficulty dip switches are. Oh, it is on easy. Of course it's on easy. Of course it's on easy. Yeah, I think it probably still had some kind of moving cabinet though, because it's still got analog controls, so I'm not sure how much cheaper it would have been. Unless it was just an upright with analog steering. I don't know what the cabinet looked like. could have just been an upright with an analog steering, but still, that's more expensive than a plain stick. You can kind of understand System E if it was designed for easy, cheap ROM swaps. You know, just buy a new ROM board for a very cheap platform. But obviously with a game like this, with custom analog controls, you're not going to ROM swap it with a sort of Riddle Pythagoras or Tetris or that terrible ice hockey game, Slap Shoot I think it was called. Maybe a bit more time remaining this time, so... Yeah, I think I've spent more time playing this in MAME than I have actually spent playing the original Hang-On. I spent plenty on Super Hang-On, but the original Hang-On is one I've kind of bypassed. Keep it in the water. Make it? There we go. Probably won't make this stage though, 2 seconds isn't much to have in reserve. Oh, that's a lot of bikes. I might have a look at the Master System Hang-On after this actually. That'd be a good thing to put on afterwards to compare. I was never going to make that one. There you go, not too bad at all. Just over halfway. Limited edition Hang-On is just Super Hang-On with different tracks, isn't it? Red Hot Mackay. I think the Master System one runs about the same. Upright with the handlebar control. That makes sense, Andy. Yeah, so it's still a custom control, so it's still not cheap joystick. But yeah, it definitely cheaper than a full ride-on then. So yeah, Master System. This one looks like one of the sets. Weren't the ports mostly based on the regular version? And this came before Hang-On Junior. So yeah, to me, I think this is a different piece of code. Although we do know that quite a few of the System E games are just ports of Master System games. Like Fantasy Zone's still got the music that's unused in there. But this doesn't feel like the same game to me. I think they rewrote the game for the System E hardware rather than porting the Master System version. This has got gears as well that Hang-On Junior does not have. It's still nice and smooth. I mean, it's a very playable game if you've got a Master System. Although this is also joystick, not handlebar, I think. Doesn't have the nice music either. And the music on Hang-On Junior is really good actually. Really good rendition of the tune. Whereas this does not have it. So no gate there either, it just gives you extended play at the given position. So this is a much simpler version of the game, the Master System version. So Also, welcome to the chat, Andy. Thank you for joining, and welcome Puff G's music channel. Thank you for joining. And Mass Ninja as well. Hi and welcome. Thank you for joining. I hope you are enjoying what you're seeing. I think playing this straight after the System E version really shows you how different they are, despite both being basically Master System hardware. I say both are good games. This was one of the early Master System games, one of the ones that was on a card in Japan rather than a cartridge. There's also an SG-1000 version. Ah, I might have a little look at that then, Bob. So Namco at first weren't really, apart from that pole position, didn't have races of the same quality of any of the Sega stuff, although later Namco races would become almost the dominant races with Ridge Racer and the like. I'll probably put on some Namco races in a bit, but you know, they're a little bit tricky to control. This is interesting. This has got 3 gears, not just 2, so this is probably less like an arcade game than most arcade games, which just have up and down shifter. At least the early ones. Does Thunder Force 2 AC2 exist? I don't know, Cow. I would personally guess no, but who knows? Let's keep going. So I'm not going to play this one for too long. Once this is game over, then I'll move on to something else. I'll probably look at that SG-1000 version that was just mentioned in the chat, actually, because I'm curious about that now. Yeah, as far as I know, it doesn't exist. There's never been any evidence to suggest it does. My best guess is it's just a mistranslation because the Thunder Force AC's got elements of Thunder Force 2 and 3 in it. Also, if you like Thunder Force, there was that odd set dumped last year where it's got the levels from the Mega Drive version of Thunder Force 3 instead. It still carries the Thunder Force AC title. It's quite an unusual set, possibly a prototype, possibly a bootleg, possibly a prototype bootleg. Bootleg of a prototype. Ace Drive was ace. Yeah, Ace Drive is a pretty good one, a good looking game. One I'm not very good at, but I might put that on in a bit too. It is on my list of things to potentially play. Oh, look, extended play again. Oops. But yeah, I mean, this is a good game for the Master System. If you've got a Master System and you want an early game that's simple, you can't go wrong with a bit of hang-on. Yeah, I think it's that set, Cow. The one that's marked as prototype question mark. It's got the Mega Drive levels instead of the arcade Thunder Force levels, so some of the stages are different. Possibly want to look at on the shooter stream, because I've got to do a part 2 of the shooter stream at some point. And then I want to do a miscellaneous arcade home thing. Not going to make it out. Nope. You get to slow down before the timeout on this one as well. Okay, let's do Ace Driver for that next, and if I remember, I'll look at the SG1000. Hang on in a bit. Anyway, there we go. I'll just make a note of that actually. SG1000. Hang on. Now, keep in mind that for Ace Driver, my controls are not going to be set up at all. So, Ace Driver, Racing Evolution. I don't know what this controls best on. If it controls well on anything. The Mahjong stream. I played Enduro on the VCS yesterday, Puff G's music channel. It's on that stream if you watch the catch up. Let's try different controls. Let's try a pad. So yeah, this one's fast and smooth. I really like the look of the car in it as well. Yeah, these have a good look to them. Unfortunately, on original hardware, they run in interlace modes, so they're a little bit flickery on the eye. MAME runs them at a fake sort of doubled resolution at the moment. I suppose one day MAME will emulate the interlace effect, so they might not look as good at that point. But MAME is kind of cheating at the moment. But unlike Sega, Namco tended to go for regular low resolution monitors, whereas Sega were going for the medium resolutions. Yeah, nice and fast and smooth, and yeah, it's a bit of a contrast to, say, earlier Namco racing games like Driver's Eyes, which was their three-screen one that ran really badly. Although it was much earlier. Winning Run as well had a kind of bad frame rate. I suppose, like most Namco games, the appeal of this would be the linked up mode that MAME doesn't currently emulate. Every time I saw a Namco Racer, it was a linked cab. Same with a lot of the Sega ones, actually. They didn't do split screen, they wanted you to have a multi-cab setup. Which I think is a missed opportunity. I think some racing games could have worked with split screen for, again, like Hang On Junior for the lower budget arcades. Split screen modes would have probably been appreciated. Driver's Eyes on the banner there, referencing their older game, of course. Did they implement drafting effects? You mean the slipstream effects? I don't know. They might have done. And hey, Elcor, thank you for joining. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. Final lap, but more modern and actually playable. Well, you could possibly say that. Automatic. Please select your racing class. Expert class. think there's only the one track though, unfortunately. You get your 2 views though. Trying too hard. I like that you get sand on the tyres when you go in the sand as well. That's a nice little visual effect. I think you do get a bit of a boost when you're drafting from, yeah. It feels like you do, in my uneducated opinion. Wasn't it Polygonizer, which was the sort of code name for the System 22 board? Nice animated billboards there. Oh dear. That wasn't very good. Most racing games have rubber banding. Unfortunately, I've messed this one up now. I lost concentration and I've lost my place. Yeah, for a racing game, this one seems relatively easy. Again, I guess the challenge is against other players rather than the computer, maybe. I'm sure with a bit of practice, I could probably beat this one. Fifth, not great, but Ridge Racer, yeah, it's got a similar look. It's the same hardware type. It's a Namco game from the same period. That was the final lap, yes, Cal. Have I missed anybody? Wolfaz, welcome to the stream, Wolfaz. I don't think I've said hello to you yet, but well, hello and welcome. Hope you're doing well. And Carlo as well, hello and welcome. And Mess Drivers, and I think that's everybody. Right. So there was also the Ace Driver Victory Lap, wasn't there? So we can have a look at that. We can jump to that. We can play another Namco System 22 racing game. Get multiple courses on this one. Beginner, automatic. So yeah, I guess this is the sequel, is it? So let's have a look at this one. I'm not going to play every track on it, but I thought I'd put this one on as well. Yeah, AI seems a bit more tricky on this one, a bit trickier. I'm not overtaking them all. I've not played any PS1 games tonight, have I? I'll have to address that shortly too. This is the high-speed course, apparently. Not many places you have to slow down, I guess. That might have been one of them. No, I don't know if people prefer this game or the one that was on previously. I'm not really that knowledgeable about the popularity of the Namco races. Goodness. Yeah, the music's not bad. I'm not sure it really fits the game. It's not a bad little tune. Quite funky. Final lap. It's telling me to play Final Lap again, isn't it? Oh, I ran out of time. Oh, there you go. I didn't finish that one. You never saw them in the arcades? Yeah, I didn't see all of them. You mainly saw Ridge Racer. But not so much these other ones. Let's select that one. Yeah, I think I prefer the previous game actually. This one seems to lack some of the character. Yeah, Scud Race is one I definitely saw back in the day. Very impressive game. You can see why people kind of wish it had a Dreamcast port, along with Daytona 2, but proper. You know, they didn't get proper ports, did Scud Racer didn't get proper port, did it? The Dreamcast. But, unfortunately, the Model 3 games don't run anywhere near playable in MAME. So, I won't be running those. I did want to look at Taito's side-by-side. It kind of almost runs at 100% here, but I don't think the game's running at 100%. It feels like it's running at half speed, and it only updates every other frame, so I think there may be an interrupt problem in the JC driver that's causing everything to be at half proper rate, even when it says 100%. So unfortunately I won't be looking at side-by-side, because it doesn't seem quite right. So that would have been a later Taito racer if I had. Oops. I was too busy looking at the advertising banners for what looked like dancing eyes. Yeah, I don't know who's going to be making progress on those drivers and when. Of course, if there's any decent progress in them, I will end up covering them. But yeah, this was the other Ace Driver game, Victory Lap. I'm not so keen on this one actually. The cars, I like the car design better a bit, but the game maybe not so much. Right, I did mention I'd have a look at the SG-1000 Hang-On, didn't I? Because I'm not aware of this version, unless it's just the same as the Master System one. Hang-On 2 is Hang-On 2. I'm guessing it's Hang-On 2. I can't see original Hang-On in the list. Okay, this looks a little more primitive. It's got the music though. Master System version didn't have the music, so that's interesting. but otherwise it plays more like the Master System version. It's got the 3 gears. Not very good sense of speed, I have to say. The high gears just seems to make me slip across the track more rather than giving any illusion that I'm moving any faster. I can't say I've played much Cyber Cycles to comment. Yeah, I'm not so impressed by this version. Although we do have to acknowledge the SG-1000 is a much weaker piece of hardware. Yeah, I mean the SD-1000 is kind of close to the MSX in terms of video, isn't it? I think it's the same chip. And obviously the Master System has this mode built in as a compatibility mode. The Mega Drive doesn't. It dropped the compatibility with this mode. So any of the Master System games that use the MSX compatibility mode, the SD-1000 compatibility mode, won't run on the Mega Drive with the adapter because the VDP doesn't support it. But I think there's only about 3 official games, maybe 2 that do. I guess Sega discouraged it internally because they wanted their games to look better. F-16 Fighting Falcon. It's not really racing, is it? Oh, am I missing that's being a reply to something else? Yeah, it pretty much is. MSX. The video chip is quite popular on a bunch of systems. So this look, this palette is one a lot of people recognise even if they didn't own a specific system because it's quite widely used. But yeah, the whole Mega Drive hardware is just an evolution of this. With new modes added, modes dropped. It's playable, it's just not a patch on the Master System version. I do like the fact it's got the music though. Oh, F-16 used the old mode. Is that what... Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, actually that comes to mind. F-16 used the old mode. Yeah, that's what... Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, So I only got one eye on the chat at the moment, or maybe half an eye on the chat and half an eye on the road, and I don't know where the other one is. Yeah, I mean, I didn't use the backward compatibility on the Mega Drive really, I had a Master System instead. But it's nice that it was there and you could buy the adapter, although I don't know why they didn't just somehow just keep it compatible without the adapter. Because all the adapter does is remap the pins and put the NMI trigger for the reset button. Or pause button even, not reset. Kaboom, and out of time. Oh well, that's the SG-1000 version. Now, I think if I remember to copy the files across, the next thing I'm going to play is one where I've had to be a bit cheeky and underclock the CPU. Because it didn't run at full speed. We'll see. Kart Fury. Yeah, I think I halved the speed of the main CPU to try and keep it to 100% speed with just the game dropping some frames instead of MAME. Astronic MPU system. Now, I think the only thing that comes to mind with Ace, I think, is Jupiter Ace, not Astronic. Hey GP, thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Right. This is very quiet indeed. Is there a volume up in the controls in this? I think there might be. Yes, there is. I think the controls might be a bit sensitive.
Select a driver. One Montoya. Select your driving style. Medium, automatic. We are seconds away from the start.
So, I think these controls are way too sensitive, so we'll see how it goes. That's a wall. Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, this used a voodoo card. Oop, thank you for the subscription there, Dr. Matthias. Yeah, this, I mean, PC era at the time was often voodoo cards, so it is kind of related. How do I use the boost? Oh, there we go. See, it is still dropping a few frames. But, it was dropping a lot more frames with the CPU at full speed. Unfortunately, it's a little bit demanding, this one. So apologies for some of the sound breakup. Oops. The banner said final lap. That's a wall. That's a wall too. It's also a wall. I finished 5th. Yeah, I hope the thermal paste holds 2, Bob. I'm not seeing any smoke coming out from over there. No damage modelling. You get some damage, but then it gets repaired. Yeah, let's continue. Let's give this another... Oh, back to the pad now. This is why I need slightly more sensitive steering. Oh. Hey, Flack, you. And with Patrick Racing. Guaranteed the high score. How does Gradius 2 run these days? Probably fairly well. I don't think there's been any major changes to the Gradius 2 emulation in a long time. Rain. That's really good for the frame rate. I think a top-end current CPU would handle this one just fine. But while my CPU is like a 4 GHz i7, it's about 7 years old now, so it's not current gen. And there have been some cycle improvements. It's a kart racer, sort of, without any weapons. It's called Kart Fury. Yeah, 4790K. Still holds up really well for a CPU that's about 7 years old now. But this is pushing it a little bit in terms of MAME. I think also with me streaming as well, it's eating up a little bit of CPU time that I'd otherwise have for it. But anyway, the sound, if I look at a Hyper Neo Geo 64 game after this, or in a bit, this sound's going to seem wonderful because the sound emulation in 64 is still really bad. This is only breaking up because it's running a bit slow. So, there we go. I got 5th again. Yeah, it's the decent CPUs, R09. Gradius 4, unfortunately I think with the recompiler for the Sharp, Gradius 4 has still got some glitches on the file level, hasn't it? So it's not actually playable, from what I remember. And Flack, you may be blessed. This isn't your usual username, is it? But yes, you may have a blessing today from Racing Jesus. There you go. But yeah, aren't there some clipping issues in Gradius 4 still since the recompiler went in, I seem to remember. Solar Assault is one I need to look at on the shooter stream next, because there was a potential fix for the crashing issue that went in during the previous cycle too, so that'll be in the next release. I don't know if it does fix the crash, but it's meant to fix the crash by making the code a bit safer. So, see, I quite like some games that bridge the serious and power up line. I like Blur on the PC, and I quite like the Daytona Unleashed game on the PlayStation 3. That's kind of silly, but also a kart racer. Also, NASCAR. Is NASCAR Unleashed? Isn't it? Not Daytona Unleashed. NASCAR Unleashed. Okay, let's go for something completely different. Okay. Probably have to change the shade on this one. Yeah, slider controls. Let's go with... So again, don't do that. Don't close that with tab and press Taito because it won't open again. That's a main bug. So the sound's awful. I apologise for the Game Boy sound emulation. Please close your ears, turn them off, chop them off, whatever you need to do. But, at some point it would be nice if somebody replaced the Game Boy sound emulation. But here we have Star Wars Episode 1 Racer for the Game Boy Color. Oh yeah, there are a few main devs on here. Puff G. Mess Drivers is here. Sometimes the official main channel will comment. ETA Beta's been here a few times. Kale's been here a few times. Hap's been here a few times. Hey Aaron Mouse, thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, there are quite a few main developers will join here. And sometimes remind me of things they've done to check out. So yeah, this is a 2D overhead version of the Star Wars racing game, really. I do like to mix it up on these channels, this channel. And I think a Game Boy sound emulation makes it sound like a swarm of angry bees, but never mind. But this isn't a bad little game if you want a simple overhead racer on a handheld system. course it's Star Wars licensed too. So if you like Star Wars, there's that as well. No, you don't. It does seem to have quite a lot of rubber banding. Did I win? I won. That was a photo finish. I wasn't sure about that one. Moore's law is dead. Long live Moore's law. Yes. Family Circuit for the Famicom NES. I don't think I've played that one, Aussie guy. I've not really got many NES games on the list. I have a SNES game or two that I might look at in a minute though. Or not a minute, but soon, later. At some point on the stream. Oop, let me pause. It's a simple enough game, but I think the best handheld games were simple. You don't want a handheld game to be too complex. You should just want to be able to pick it up and play it when you're on the go. So I think that one, you know, that one fits this one fits the bill there. I do really like the Star Wars racing game on other platforms too. I played it a fair bit on the PC back in the day. Probably one of my favourite Star Wars tie-in games, actually. Obviously, the PC one was a proper 3D game, not a little overhead racer like this one is. Two motorbikes being chased by a pram backwards. Maybe the whole thing is just going backwards. Maybe you're now watching the stream in reverse. Game Boy 8-bit G's. I blessed you with the racing one. 2 blessings in one stream, flack you. That is a bit of a push. I mean, you can have a second blessing if one is needed, but yeah, the Sega racing game is Hikaru hardware, isn't it? I don't know if it runs. I don't know how well it runs in anything yet. It's also one of those that's got a really amusing protection system where I think one of the things it decrypts and uses a protection is a massive rant or something like that, text file. I can't remember now. It's not on the cutting room floor, unfortunately, but there was definitely something amusing about the protection and what gets decrypted on that one. Anyway, I think we've seen enough of that one now. It's not one I want to spend too long on. Probably not the most interesting one to watch. So, where shall we go? Shall we go another arcade game? Let's go another arcade game. Let's go F1 Dream, I think. But I'm not 100% sure it actually works properly yet. This is one where the MCU, the Intel 8751, was decapped and dumped and added to the driver. But it's almost like there's still some protection issues, where if you do too well in the game, it loses track of your score and ends up resetting during the ending. I mean, I'm not really good enough at the game to ever demonstrate that. But apparently it does happen. I don't have the CHD for Battle Gear stored locally, Jasper, so I can't look at that one right now. So yeah, this one, I think Romstar must have worked closely with Capcom on it, because all the versions have the Romstar banners, rather than Romstar just, you know, being the licensee with a few mods of their own. Unless there are like undumped versions that don't have them. Yeah, I think the banners are meant to go in front of the map. Although, I could be wrong. Now, for a long time, the only playable set of this in MAME was a bootleg. And that bootleg had some problems with the protection simulation itself. There were invisible walls on some of the courses, where it looks like the bootleg data had been corrupted somehow. And then another bootleg was done that didn't have that problem. And then eventually the MC was decapped for the main set. Yeah, this one's not really the fastest game, is it? Oh, I'm missing something. I think you just have to know where to cut the corners to get the maximum advantage. There doesn't seem to be a faster gear button or anything. Oh, no, there is, sorry. If I hold down the second button, there we go. Sorry. Yeah, I should have probably been using it the whole time then. Let me remap it as well, because otherwise I can't turn while holding it. So yeah, I've been going in slow gear the whole time. I thought the second button was brake. The second button is not brake. The second button is speed up. So yeah, ignore my poor playing of it. Now I've got blast processing. Yeah, as I just found out, Bob, there is another gear. I just wasn't using it. I think it's a little late by the time I found out there was a second gear, though. Yeah, I had a feeling there was something up. There you go. That was the slow mode. Yeah, there are two buttons. But yeah, like I said, there might still be a few protection issues with this, I'm not sure. I'm not good enough at the game to find out, though. Or maybe it's just if you're too good at the game it will crash, but the YouTube videos seem to show a good player with it doing the proper endings. Notice the advertising banner spells Ghosts and Goblins wrong. It's like they've not only corrupted the names of the brands, they've corrupted the name of their own game. Like we've got the Gamel banners. I think I've just ran that person over, but they didn't seem to mind too much. It's always good when people don't mind when you run them over. Ooh. Now you're probably meant to pull off the accelerator on the corners or something. But yeah, the protection controls all sorts of things in this game, including all the collisions, the car direction movement. It's quite a heavily protected game. You kind of wonder why. Protection is kind of similar to Bionic Commando, MCU type and the like. Yeah. I think it looked like quite a similar code base for the protection. Even with full speed, I'm probably only going to finish 8th again. Well, I still managed to finish last both times, so I don't really know how much fun it is. I was going for first, I finished last. Unless I'm still not understanding the controls. But I think I'm just bad at cornering, to be honest. F3000, final race, number 1. Dear. Yeah, I think I'm going to finish 8th again. Just a gut feeling I have here. Especially if I forget where the corners are. That's how you get past the car, you just ram through it. Yeah, not all the cars are actual cars that are in the race with you, so 6th is still not very good. I think that's as fast as you can go. I think you've just got to remember to take the corners a bit better. I was losing lots of time on the corners and not being very efficient. Oh, that's too bad. Challenge again. But yeah, that was F1 Dream. Also got a port to the PC Engine, which I might look at some point. I don't know when. But yeah, we've got a little while left on this stream. So I might get round to it. Should you have a look at a Mega Drive game? No, actually, let's have a look at a SNES game. Okay. Now this is one of the ones with the Seta protection chip in that's found on some arcade boards. A bit F-Zero-y, this one. But MAME obviously emulates it, emulates the actual chip. Bio did provide the code back in the day. The pedestrian made me spin out, yes. Yeah, I mean, I played a fair bit of Monaco GP2 on the Mega Drive. That was a good one, the Ayrton Senna one. Didn't really do much over the original game, but in terms of the gameplay. But there was the whole career mode and all that, and again, now this game's reminding me of Final Laps. This is a very fast-paced thing. Smooth mode 7's rotation. And altogether, not the worst SNES game you could be playing. This has a special chip, but apparently it's not really used for much at all. A bit like the way it's used on the arcade games. It seems a bit redundant. I don't think they really knew what they were doing with it. It's used for a few things, but... maybe they had bigger plans than they, you know, ended up doing. You know, they wanted the chip for the potential and then really didn't push it to its limits. But yes, it does have an extra chip. Extra little processor. And again, I'm not doing very well. I finished 14th, I think. I think it's the same speed as F-Zero. I think it's just... it doesn't feel faster to me, but it is a fast racing game. Yes, I'm completely out of the running. F-Zero Le Mans Sanchez. And hey, and welcome to the stream as well. I don't think I've said welcome to you yet, but hope you're doing well. Let's race again. Qualify. Now the first lap in qualifying is the final lap. See what I've done. Very responsive. Oh, I don't avoid it telling me it's the final lap. Just reminds me at the start instead. It's probably one of those where letting off the accelerator will help actually. You just need to know where to let it off. Finish. F1 pole position on the SNES is tough. It's not one I've played, Sanchez. Is it a good one? Or just a tough one? Yeah, Mode 7 does make for some impressive racing games. It's one of the things that's a shame about the Mega Drive is you just don't have this. You have to do it in software pretty much, and it's slow then. So much easier when there aren't other cars on the track. Still only going to finish like 11th. Better than last time. Yeah, Virtua Racing. I do have the cart of that somewhere. That was the game I was going to put on instead of this at first, then I changed my mind to this. But I think I'll put Virtua Racing on now, actually. You've seen that one, and I'm probably just going to fail at it repeatedly, as we tend to see in these racing games. So, yeah, let's put the European version, because apparently in MAME the US and Japanese versions lack some of the sound effects. I'm not quite sure why that happens, but it does happen. So I'll play the this version. Yeah, I think maybe isn't the 32X version considered the best, but that sort of crashes in MAME. Yeah, the PAL version I'm running because it runs better in MAME than the other ones for some reason. Oops. Oh yeah, go down the screen, don't I? And I press start, that's it. But yeah, it's quite impressive. It's a fairly simple game. But it's nice to see the 3D on the Mega Drive with the SVP chip. And the internal ROM for the SVP was recently dumped as well, which does some boot up security that we need to actually hook up properly so that it's emulated. Not important for the gameplay, but nice for completeness sake. Frame rate takes a little bit of getting used to if you've not played it in a while, mind you. Also, I always used to just play it on the far out camera mode, this one. I just love this far away look. Like you've got a tiny little car. I noticed the volume's quite low on this, but unfortunately MAME doesn't give an easy way to boost the volume, only lower it. And I'd rather not play with the volume in OBS too much, because then I forget to change it back and blast your ears out on another game later. Oops. No, that wasn't clever, was it? Of course, this isn't your standard track. This is the medium track that isn't quite as iconic. So I'll probably put the standard track on next. And you don't have analog controls, you just have the D-pad, so it doesn't handle quite like VR. Was 32x square polys? 32x is software rendered. It's got an RLA accelerator, run length encoding for lines. It can't draw naturally any kind of polygons. It's not 3D hardware. It's a pair of SH2s and a frame buffer, really, and some horrible, axis weight states on everything, which mean the CPUs don't run anywhere near as fast as you think they should. It's a horrible piece of hardware, is the 32X. It's a miracle they got anything out of it. Probably the worst thing Sega ever came out with, to be honest. Might have had one or two okay titles, but yeah, the hardware was just a disaster. But yeah, this type of game with real 3D objects is really impressive to see, even if it required an extra chip on the cartridge, which obviously made it very expensive back in the day. And also, you're still limited by the data upload rate to the VDP, unfortunately, which is one of the Mega Drive's bottlenecks. So they could have had an extra processor twice as fast as the SVP, and the frame rate would have still been limited to what you see here, because this is just as fast as it can upload what the SVP has made into the Mega Drive's tile memory for display, which is the real bottleneck. Let's have a quick look at the beginner course. Ooh, wrong button. So this is the track most people are familiar with, the standard Virtua racing track. I mean, there's plenty of trees on the roadside there, look. I mean, there's definitely no shortage of objects. I do remember the original hardware had some dropout, at least my cartridge did. Especially in the farthest out view, sometimes polygons are not rendered. You'd get a track that was invisible in places, which doesn't seem to happen as much in the emulation, oddly. But there's an impressive amount being shown. Could have done with a link feature maybe, but nobody really linked Mega Drives, did they? Yeah, I mean, if they'd put maybe something on, even just on the cartridge slot, to link to another cartridge, that would have been kind of funky. Because then it wouldn't matter if your Mega Drive had the ports or not. But then it would have been even more expensive for a very limited number of players. Oops, I'm reading the chat, not racing. I'll just race, I'll read the chat in a bit. Is that a GP banner up there? GP got his own banners. So, that 4. No, it's CP, not GP. Far out view. Yes, final lap. No cows here either. It seems to have been a cow-friendly stream again. Oop. There we go. Yes, it said final lap again. Virtua Racing, not Virtua Chatting. Let me just quit this now and then have a little look at the chat. See if there's anything. Bloody Windows updates. Are they annoying you, Carlo? The Switch version is a source port of the arcade. That's neat, yeah. Beat's trying to emulate it. The emulation of the Mega Drive version seems accurate enough. I think it might be slightly better than it is on hardware. The emulation of the arcade VR has some issues with the TGP emulation and possibly some issues with the TGPG Cap 2. There might be a few bad bits in it. But when I played Sega Rallye yesterday, you saw the car sort of flip up in the air for no reason, sort of float around. That happens occasionally in the arcade version of VR in MAME. And Sega Rallye uploads the program, which suggests to me the actual issues with the TGP core still, as well as possible bugs in the transcription of the decap image. Okay, so I don't think I've missed too much. Even worse than the Mega CD. I mean, the Mega CD, you get the same problem of having to upload everything to the VDP. Again, it doesn't add any video hardware of its own. So, again, the same bottleneck is there with the VDP upload. The Astro City Mini version Virtua Fighter's a port of some sort, isn't it? It seems really bad from what people have said. It's not emulation, it's a port that barely runs at full speed, has weird slowdowns. The medium track has cows. I didn't see the cows on the medium track. The Virtua Formula Attract demo is amazing. Play it. Okay. This is going to default to widescreen, isn't it? Not Virtua Fighter. Wrong game. Sorry. Why did I load Virtua Fighter? The Ogre, don't put that one in the index. That wasn't played. That was a mistake. So this attract mode is amazing, is it? I type VF for Virtua Formula because Virtua Racing is VR. Doesn't the attract mode here still have a few bugs from the TGP rework? I can't remember. I think the cars aren't in quite the same place as they used to. Oh, there we go. There we go. There are some cows, indeed. There are some cows. I think the general rule is the ogre. If I don't play the game, if I don't insert a credit or start playing it, it doesn't count. It's a mistake. Oh, but it looks like I'm going to just be... unless I can actually manage to select the middle track, which is more difficult than you'd think. I don't like this camera. That camera will do. So that's a bit too far. Okay. The handling is very different to the Mega Drive version, so I'm not quite used to it yet. There's a different pixel shader for LCD screens. Or are you talking about something else? You can finish the track, but you can't get first. I mean, the challenge is always getting first on these games. I think a good racing game will make it a challenge to get first. It'll let you complete the track, let you do your laps, but getting first will be the challenge. Oops. Never mind. You do have to really master them. Learn how to take each corner, when to brake, when to accelerate, when to overtake. Oh. Let's just play the easy track. Oh, hey Red Hot MacGyver. Unfortunately, that happens all the time. Internet cutouts. You would have thought everywhere would have it sorted out and reliable by now, but you know, you can pay a fortune for your internet and it will still cut out. So yeah, at least it's back now. Oh. I kind of forget what all the buttons are mapped to. Most of them are camera. Obviously this makes the Mega Drive port look kind of bad, because this is high resolution, vibrant colours. But at the time, you know, for a home system game, the Mega Drive 1 was impressive. That's an interesting way to try and make it more difficult. Just fix the AI. That's not what I consider great design myself. Yeah, Wi-Fi dongles can be terrible as well. Or, you know, the Virgin box can decide to lock up for no apparent reason. You have to restart it, and oh dear. I didn't run into the cows. I already played the medium track, and I don't believe I crashed into any cows, cow. Cows were fine. I don't know much about PS2 Racing Live. Fellow Jasper. Pardon me. Come on, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't think we can go much further though, with 12 seconds. That was a pretty good lap compared to the others, eh? But yeah, 4, 3, 2, 1. Not a chance. It's a very strange game over. Games with cows stream. Yeah, I have to make note of the games with cows. I mean, as mentioned before, there is Earthworm Jim. Maybe we'll do a cow special at some point. Speaking of 32X, shall we go with something incredibly disappointing? Motocross Championship. Or, why does this game exist? It's absolutely awful in every single way. Hard driving is definitely a game of cows, yes. Now look at these amazing low resolution sprites. Oh, I'm on default keys. The sprites are higher resolution when they're further away from the camera. Look, there they're low resolution. Then the increase in resolution, it's like, what is going on with this game? They're always low resolution when turning. It's just an ugly, ugly game. And the sound is very low, I know that. Sorry about that. It's not showing as low in the meter, but the extra sound chip on the 32X, at least in MAME, seems to cause a huge DC offset, which is odd. I'm not sure it should, but it does. But yeah, this is like, you almost think, was this intended to be a port of Stadium Cross? Stadium Cross is a bad game in the first place, though. But no, this is its own thing. It's just another motocross game. Could have been a port of Stadium Cross, but maybe Sega didn't want to destroy their own reputation. But it's an ugly game. Mainly the sprite work. Like I say, it mixes between low res and high res sprites for no apparent reason. It just looks terrible. Not as good as Moto Frenzy. I'm not a big fan of Moto Frenzy. You do have a punch button though. Don't know how you punch the other way. You can punch one way. If you really want to. Play dirty. Not quite Road Rash though, is it? I'm in 12th place. That's disappointing. Unless it's one of those that you really need a 6-button pad for, I don't know. I don't get that part of the track, I always lose my place on it. I feel there's a technique I'm missing on those little bumps. Oh well, I finished 9th, maybe? I'm loser 00. Yeah, shall I put Stadium Cross on next? Why am I looking at the credits? It's developed by Artex Studios for Sega of America. Well, that probably tells me all I need to know. Yeah, let's just put Stadium Cross on them. Right, I need to... Game and system setting. Advertising sound is off. Good, good, good. And you only want the first screen. There you go. So let's have a look at Stadium Cross itself. My control set to effect.
With the series point title up for grabs, the final battle at Sega Stadium will decide Number 1 hits. Number 2, who's going to win the championship this season? Number 1 hits. Number 8. With the series point title up for grabs, the final battle.
I'm not sure I've quite got the hang of the controls either. Okay, shift is pull up.
Number 3.
It's very hard to get the corners right on this one. There's another one of those sprite scalers that's, you know, all done in sprites rather than any ground layer, and doesn't look as good as the Y-board ones. Oh yeah, and the engine sound was recently fixed on this as well, as you can hear now. You do have an engine sound. Previously the engine sound didn't play. So in that sense it's kind of similar to the final lap fixes. makes it a bit more playable, but it's still not a great game. I think the fix for the engine sound in this case came from Dink of Final Burn Neo. Because Final Burn Neo did just add the System 32 games. The commentator is really annoying on this as well, just repeats himself all the time.
With the series points title up for grabs, the final number 1 hits number 2. Number 5 is in the lead. Number 1 fights the dust hard. The crowd is screaming. Lap 2 to go. The series points title up for grabs.
Yeah, this is rather ugly. I don't think a proper CRT would save this. It's not good art, and the draw distance is really bad. And there's all these gaps in the sprites as well. They are there on the real hardware video, so that's not an emulation thing.
Number 5 is in the lead. 1 to go. Who's going to win the championship this season? Number 5 is in the lead. Number 1 hits number 4. Number 5 is in the lead. The weather here at Sega Stadium, and in the floodlights, a wild battle is taking place. Number 5 is in the lead. 1 to go. 1 to go. Number 3 is in the lead. 1 to go. Who's going to win the championship this season? Number 1 hits number 3.
Time over.
This is CCN's Andy
Time over, but in first position.
from Sega Stadium.
I was in first position and still didn't finish. Um,
15 seconds to start.
let's give it another try anyway. Might be one of those where on an analog controller it'll be a bit better. No, I don't know what cork is. Do I have a pull-up map on here?
Championship this season. Number 1 is in the lead. Lap 1. Points title up for grabs. The final battle at Sega Stadium will decide.
I don't think I've got all the controls mapped on pad. Oops.
The crowd is screaming.
Hold
Who's gonna
on.
win the championship
Yeah, I've
this
not got
season?
the
Lap 1.
buttons mapped, have I?
Number 7 is in the lead.
That doesn't help.
Who's gonna win the
Now,
championship?
this is one of those where I think naming the buttons in the driver would actually help.
15 seconds.
So let's restart it.
15 seconds to start.
A new picture they clumsily drew over. It does a bit, yes. You are correct.
With the series point title up for grabs, the final battle at Sega Stadium will decide.
So that's got
Lap 1. Lap 1. Number 1 is in the lead. Lap 1. Who's going to win the championship this season? Number 7 is in the lead. Lap 1. Beautiful weather here at Sega Stadium, and in the floodlights, a wild battle is taking place. Lap 1. Number 1.
You still have to brake there, clearly.
Number 1 fights the dust hard. The
So I
crowd
think
is
that's
screaming.
that button.
Lap 1. Who's going to win the championship this season? Number 5 is in the lead. Lap 1. With the series points title up for grabs, the final battle at Sega Stadium will decide this year's champion.
I'm getting all my buttons confused.
Number 7 is in the lead. Lap 1. Who's going to win the championship this season? Number 7 is in the lead. Lap 1. Beautiful weather here at Sega Stadium, and in the floodlights, a wild battle is taking place. Number 7 takes the first lap.
Yeah, I did worse that time.
With the series points title up for
Spiritual
grabs, the final
successor
battle
to,
at
spiritual
Sega
sequel to
Stadium will
Enduro
decide
Racer.
this year's champion.
Maybe, although Enduro Racer I think is a better game. Although it's a hard game. It's a very hard game. That was Stadium Cross anyway. The engine sound is much better than it used to be. So that's a nice little fix to look forward to in the next version of MAME 2, actually. Right, where shall we go next? The R Zone, Indy 500. Why am I playing this? This has start, select, up, down, left, right, and 4 buttons. That's 4 too many buttons. I'm going to get 0 miles per hour because I don't know how to go. This does work, doesn't it? Got different modes, clearly. 1, 2, 3. Preliminary prep. Is this broken? I'm sure this used to work. Oh no, I probably mapped that to pause as well. Let's try again. I think pause was mapped to the same thing as something else. It is an LCD game. So let's accelerate. Yes, this is one of the Tiger LCD games. Because we know everybody loves Tiger LCD games. Why does it have 4 buttons? What are the other buttons doing? Also, what sense of speed is there? I'm going so fast. I'm going at 250 miles per hour, can't you tell? Yeah, this is a very unusual perspective to do it from. And honestly, it's absolutely awful. I mean, you wouldn't expect it to be anything other than absolutely awful. But it is absolutely awful. I don't know if there's any point in ever slowing down. I didn't say the games I was going to play were going to be good. Also, yeah, an LCD game with a CRT shader does look a bit odd, doesn't it? But you know what? It's not even worth the effort changing it. Ooh. Now there's other cars. Unfortunately, you can't see where you are on the map because there's no visual indication. At least with the other cars on the track, you get an idea that you're actually moving, but it's not very responsive for overtaking them. You've got a rear view mirror there as well, though. Look, that's impressive. It's like they were trying so hard, but in the end, you know, it's an LCD game. You can only do so much. You can't do a full racing game with an LCD display. It's just not practical. Yeah, our zone is pretty much the poverty Virtual Boy, yes. It was a very similar idea, I believe. It's like they must have bet on Virtual Boy being a massive success. Second lap. Just feels completely unresponsive in terms of moving left and right as well. Only one bleeding eye. I suppose that is a win. And a desire never to see the colour red again. But I'm sure you'll all agree this is the best game I featured on this stream. Oh yeah, I don't know why I've still got the frame counter in the corner. I can get rid of that. I think I've crashed. I'm just making music with the controls. Because it practically is David Burgess. It's a Tiger R-Zone, which is one of the Tiger LCD games, but one you wore on your face, I believe, like a Virtua Boy. But yes, it is very similar tech to Game & Watch. Just elements on the screen that light up. Don't overtake me. They're all overtaking me. This is terrible. Where did they all come from? Virtual Boy and Watch. Yeah, pretty much. Trouble. I know I'm in trouble. Don't you have to tell me I'm in trouble. I'm aware just how bad the situation is. I don't even have a high gear anymore. I think I've got a pit, but I don't know where to pit. I know it's telling me to pit, but where's the pits? Because my highest gear is now 2. I honestly don't know what's going on or where anything is. I suppose if you learn where the pit is, you might stand a chance. But, you know, there's a whole 3 cars behind me again. It's oh, okay, and that looks like my car might have died. Well, I mean, it's ambitious for a Game & Watch LCD style thing, you know. You know, it runs on the same type of MCU as the Game & Watch units, the Sharp SM510. But yeah, I think we've seen quite enough of that one. Quite enough of it. Now let's go with a home game that I associate more with the Amiga than anything else. So many of these systems are marked as not working in MAME. It's quite bad, but the games I'm picking are ones that work. JVC. I don't know why this was on Sega CD rather than just a regular Mega Drive game either, to be honest. I think the Mega Drive could have done this. Just it wouldn't have had this intro, of course, this fantastic bit of FMV. Sonic CD's been playable for a long time, David. I don't know if it's perfect, but it's always been playable. It's one of the Sega CD games that I tested with initially. So this is Jaguar XJ220. It's got a track editor, which is why I loved it on the Amiga. I played this more than Lotus just because it had a track editor. Never tried using the track editor on the Sega CD version, mind you. So, unfortunately, this has some quite ugly zooming, which I don't think is a MAME emulation bug. I think it's just how it is. Sega.
Start your engine.
The Vastas are a little bit flickery, but that is probably a main thing. But all the stuff at the trackside is quite low resolution. I'm assuming it's done with the actual zoom hardware on the Sega CD, when really it might have been better just doing it using pre-scaled sprites on the regular Mega Drive hardware. Because the Lotus game on the Mega Drive actually looks better than this. I do quite like this one as a game. Although again, I played it more on the Amiga than ever on the Sega CD. In fact, I don't think I've ever played it properly on the Sega CD. So, why not have a little play of it? Let's see how it goes. Yeah, it's very much like the Lotus games. If you could probably say it's a bit of a knockoff. Although it's nice that they've got the track editor and stuff. There we go. Lotus Turbo Challenge was a Gremlin game, I believe. Gremlin graphics. Yes, I did Haze MD back in the day, Sanchez, when I was researching basically the Mega Drive hardware and pirate game protections. The current code for Mega Drive in MAME is a port of that Haze MD code. It's unfortunately not really seen any real updates since then, so it's still got quite a few flaws, and somebody needs to come along and rewrite it at some point. But it does hold up okay for a lot of games. Yeah, there's one or two cases that are obviously broken, some sprite masking bugs because it wasn't fully understood at the time. Overall, it's not too bad. The timings are all out though on DMA and stuff like that. This is a fairly relaxed game. It's just a shame it is a little bit ugly. It's not really demonstrating a compelling reason for a Sega CD. Now we are approaching the 3-hour mark, so there's probably only going to be maybe one more game after this one, I'd say. Because I tried to keep the streams about 3 hours long. Any racing games that I haven't covered might just end up having to be in a miscellaneous stream or in a future stream with a different theme. Because I don't think I can do a fourth part of racing games and still get the rest of the content I want to get in for the month. Only 10th though. There's no map either, no little mini map telling me where any of the cars are in this. Which is a shame, because I don't know how far behind I am. It's the lap. I think we're going to finish 8th. Oh no, it's not the lap. I thought it was. I forgot where I was on the track. And therefore didn't take that corner well. Is this the end? Nope, I completely lost. Again, that's why a little map would help. I thought it was near the end of the track when I wasn't. No sign of the other cars though. I guess they're quite far ahead. Oh, you're off, Red Hot. See you. Take care. Thank you for being here. Oh, something to overtake. Yeah, that's it. 7th place. 7th. Yeah, I played more on the Amiga Master Ninja. The Sega CD version probably isn't as good as the Amiga version. Maybe there's a map on off button. Maybe. I don't know. But, it might be one of those where you can't win the first races either. You might have to upgrade your car before you actually can. Repair red items first. The whole car's red. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Can I not buy this? Is there no buy button? I don't know. Oh, thanks. Thank you, Puff G's Music Channel, for subscribing. Yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing in this one. Maybe I just can't buy stuff yet. But anyway, what's round 2? It's probably just a different track, isn't it? There's also the Lamborghini American Challenge on SNES. Is that based on this, Sanchez? Or is that a Lotus reskin? I'm pressing the wrong key. Yeah, it's very similar, just different colours, different backgrounds. So yeah, that's a Jaguar XJ220 on the Sega CD. Right, we are over 3 hours now. So what should I end on? Let's have a look. I'm not sure at all. Uncle Pooh is not a racing game unless you count racing ahead of something. I said I might look at the Hyper Neo Geo stuff, didn't I? Right. Apologies for the sound. The sound is bad. I just want to show the current state of Hyper Neo Geo Road's Edge in MAME for people that haven't seen it. There haven't been any recent improvements, but there were some a few months ago. So round trip RV, aka Road's Edge. Now there's still a priority issue here, so you can't see the cars. That's probably the easiest thing to fix compared to some of the other issues. But Ridge Racer Type 4, I think, is one of those where the Namco soundtrack's going to cause problems for me if I play it. So I'd probably have to prepare for that better. So as you can see, somebody's already smashed on my windscreens because they're delightful like that. Well, it might just be an emulation issue. And the sound is still all over the place. So ignore the sound. You can see the actual gameplay is kind of intact. There are visual issues that are off-putting in places. There are texturing issues all over the place. You can get a pretty good feel for it. Oh, my keys aren't mapped properly either, so I'm changing radio stations when I'm trying to brake. That's bad. Now the thing about this is the game's called Round Trip, so the tracks loop back on themselves. So you're facing the oncoming traffic in the opposite direction when you're going back, which is kind of one of the challenges. But yeah, these are relatively playable in MAME, so they're far from perfect, and they need a lot of work. But And say the sound especially needs work. If the sound was better, they'd probably seem a lot better than they are. You'd probably overlook more of the visual issues. Yes, the sound is like hissing banshees, Rob. I tried to turn it down a bit. Maybe I'll turn it down a little bit further because it's not good, is it? No, N64 really doesn't work well in MAME Sanchez. It'd run about 40% speed at most, probably with plenty of graphics, and it might crash. But yeah, both this and Xtreme Rallye are very similar games. They're checkpoint races where you go around a track. They're like one's like an extension of the other because there's only 3 tracks in each game, which is not much considering how short the tracks are. And they're just about finding the shortcuts really and making use of them. And I don't think they're bad games. I think I've definitely seen worse racing games than these two SNK games. And with proper textures, they'd actually look quite nice, I think. Go through the tunnel. The paths do split. You can see your little map how there are multiple routes through the tracks. Again, head-on collisions are not very good. And sometimes the polygons do get stuck. They're left in the sprite list and there's no clear way to disable them or show where the sprite list ends. I've never managed to figure that out. Almost took the wrong turn. There we have it, goal. The machine sounds like it's possessed. This is possessed by me. Round 3, you're up, and this is your 3rd course. As I said, there's really not much content in these. That is the main issue with them. Outside of the emulation issues, of course. But yeah, this is... Now I'll put Xtreme Rallye on after this part too, so I play both the Hyper Neo Geo games at the end. But after Hyper Neo Geo Xtreme Rallye, the stream will be ending. So just give you a bit of advance notice there. Because we are over 3 hours, and anything over 3 hours on these streams is bonus time. Oh dear. Probably not going to finish this one. See, it's glitching out quite badly there with the leftover polygons, which is a little bit off-putting because you think you're trying to avoid things that you don't have to avoid, and there we go, run out of time. Almost at the checkpoint, but didn't quite make it. Please try again. Dodge the occasional TA. Well, I did choose that vehicle, Bob. There are other vehicles. There's even some secret bonus vehicles. I think you can drive a giant sushi in Xtreme Rallye or something like that. If you so want to. And this is Xtreme Rallye, also known as Offbeat Racer. And again, I'm turning the sound right down. Yeah, there's quite a lot of problems with the texturing. The textures can be divided into different segments, and the formula for working out how they apply and map to the polygons isn't quite right, so there's lots of texturing problems. And then there seems to be a grouping of attributes for different cars that's wrong, and all sorts. So I'm going to select time trial this time because I think that lets you choose the track you want. And here there's a missing window effect. It's meant to squash the whole display down into the window, and that's a missing part of the sprite list processing. The 3D list processing. Now this one's got a lot more trailing 3D as well. On the plus side, the character select, car select screen works a bit better. I personally do think these are quite good looking games. They released about 97, 98. The 2D art's good. The 3D texturing and the textures aren't bad. But yeah, it'd be nice to have it fixed up one day. I did look at it again briefly myself recently, and again didn't really manage to make any progress. So it's a frustrating one. It's just been slowly improving over the years. I just wish the sound made more sense, because that would be the biggest improvement you can make right now is probably the sound. Pardon me. I mean, we are lucky these days. There are far better videos available for reference on YouTube and the like, so we can see exactly what everything's meant to look like, which back in the day when we were looking at the hardware we didn't have it all. We had no references really, or just like really bad 240p recordings that we couldn't make things out. Oh, well, I missed the corner. I mean, I could do a whole stream of things that don't quite work properly yet, or things I couldn't get working that I thought I might be able to get working, and just show how they fail. I'm not sure it's going to be the most compelling stream for anybody to watch, but it's something I've considered doing. But I do mix the odd one in these streams. See, I was no idea what was going on then, because the 3D got all stuck. And that's... it's annoying. I'm not driving very well here, am I? I'm not even going for any of the shortcuts at the moment either. There was a shortcut through a tunnel there that I could have taken. Each track's got 2 or 3 shortcuts, I think. I've just forgotten where they are, and they jump up on me, and I'm not ready for them. Again, you could have probably cut through there. And out of time. I know I'm not going to play the other tracks on this one. You get the idea. You get the idea of how they run at the moment. You'd watch it with your erratic PT. Also, welcome. I don't think I've said hi to you yet, or I forgot. Thank you for joining the stream, and if you've enjoyed it, if there's anything you think I could have improved, let me know. Okay. The Midway 3D system. I did some Midway 3D stuff earlier. I looked at Kart Fury that had to underclock, but Dark Age I think has ran okay on a decent PC for a while. Some of the later races, Roadrunners and Kart Fury, still require a very beefy system. Anyway, C64, 064. 064? Is that like a C64? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to say that is it for now, because they were on 3 hours 13 minutes. And I've covered a fair bit. There are still plenty more racing games that I can cover on other streams. So I'll do a miscellaneous stream where I might just throw in some of the racing games too. At least if I find time to do it, because there's a few I'd like to show that I haven't shown yet. But anyway, yes, thank you to everybody who's been here. It's a long list of people. I can't possibly go through everybody and thank them and thank you individually, because I'd be here for another like 10 minutes. So, and also, yep, Kevin, I assume you've been lurking, because that's the first comment I've seen from you, and I guess there are quite a few lurkers out there too, and much thanks to them too. Even the people I've not been aware are here because they've not said anything. that is also appreciated. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the stream. I hope you found something you weren't aware of, or I've enjoyed seeing some of the bug fixes. For example, the X68K one I started with, the further progress on Final Lap, even the Stadium Cross engine sound fix that I just showed about half an hour ago. But yeah, I'll catch you all another time. So see you. Look after yourselves.